is a game series that I grew up with that I fondly remember my father and my brother playing. We used to have the first 4 Tomb Raider games for the computer. Unfortunately, I was too young to play those games. I was only 2 when the first one came out, and when I was about 5, they let me try Tomb Raider 3, and right away I ran into a pit of fire and Lara Croft caught fire, and that scared me. I didn't like seeing people on fire when I was little, so that really kind of did not make me play a Tomb Raider game for a while. I started playing Tomb Raider again when Tomb Raider Legend came out. That's the first reboot by Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix of the series. I've been a Tomb Raider fan probably since then, or since the 2 Angelina Jolie movies came out, which I admit aren't great movies, but they're guilty pleasures, they're fun to watch, they're just stupid, dumb, insane, fun. And that's what I really like about those movies. However, despite playing Tomb Raider Legend, Tomb Raider Anniversary, Tomb Raider Underworld, the last trilogy of games that was supposed to be the reboot of Lara Croft, those games never really hooked me. I think I only got about halfway through Legend, halfway through Anniversary, and not even halfway through Underworld. It wasn't until a cover reveal of a new Tomb Raider game on a Game Informer from 2011 where I was like, there's a new Tomb Raider game coming out. And they said that it was going to be an origin story. They were rebooting the series once again, stripping away all the sexual objectifications that Lara Croft has had over the years, stripping her down to the bare necessities. She's vulnerable, acting out of necessity. It was a story of survival. This was her first adventure. She's only about 21 in that game. And that game finally came out in 2013, and when I played it, I could not put it down. It was such a blast. It was one of the best action-adventure video games I had played. It was definitely, you could tell some of the gameplay was inspired by Uncharted, but Tomb Raider also inspired Uncharted in a way. So I wasn't too mad about that. But then the sequel came out, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that was even better. And now we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, a game that I played. This is the conclusion of Lara Croft's origin story. This is the conclusion of the reboot trilogy. I'm pretty sure there will be more games that take place in this timeline, but this is the finale, the conclusion to Lara Croft's origin story, to her becoming the Tomb Raider that we know she's destined to be. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider basically focuses on Lara Croft as she sets off a Mayan apocalypse. She has to track down Trinity and their leader, Dominguez, from trying to cleanse the world and remake it. And she becomes the Tomb Raider she is destined to be. I was really excited for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and after playing it, I can say I'm very satisfied. Is it the best one in this trilogy? No. I think it's the weakest one because of, and I'll tell you why, and it's mostly because of one aspect, and I'll tell you why later. But I mean, this game is still a blast from start to finish. I played this mostly, I was about halfway through going into Monday, and I played this mostly for most of the night, most of the day, most of the night on Monday, and beat it on Monday. This game is just, it's one of those action-adventure games that you can't put down. It's like the last 2. People are going to complain that the gameplay is very similar to Rise of the Tomb Raider, and to an extent, it is. We have Crystal Dynamics, who developed Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider. They were one of the main developers along with Square Enix. They shifted into a supporting development role. And Eidos Montreal, who was supporting on the last 2 games, shifted into main developer for this. So it doesn't really surprise me that some of the gameplay is the same, but at the same time, it's like, if it ain't broke, then why fix it? You know? And some of the gameplay elements that they add into this game really enrich the game. For instance, they added a lot more swimming in this game. Fans wanted swimming, so they added swimming. The swimming mechanics are really great. You can hold right trigger, and that makes you swim faster. That is very useful. Always do that. But they also added air pockets, because if you swim without going to an air pocket, Lara Croft is going to drown eventually. and you'll be screwed. So make sure that when you see an air pocket, you hit X so that Lara Croft can catch a quick breath of air and then continue to be on her way. Also, Lara Croft can now cover herself in mud and hide in mud patches on walls. That's very, very, very helpful for the combat in this game. There's one little animation that I like. It's not a game changer or anything. It's just something that I noticed. I was like, oh, it's a nice little touch. When Lara Croft covers herself in mud, she undoes her ponytail so her hair's down. We never see Lara Croft with her hair down. And then when she's done stealthily killing the guys, or if you get caught and you have to murder them with your weapons, she puts her hair back in a ponytail. It's just a nice little added animation that I think is a cool little thing. It's not a game changer or anything. It's the little things like that that I notice where I'm just like, oh, that's pretty cool. Also, when you're using your pickaxe or your grapple, if you're climbing up a wall and then there's a rock above you, you can use that as an overhang. Those are just some examples of enhanced gameplay, some techniques that they threw into this game. I think those are mostly the three that they did. And I thought everything that they added worked really well, especially the stealth combat. I'll get into the combat a little bit more later, but this game, cinematically, graphically, looks amazing. The character models look almost real and feel real. They feel in the moment and real in these lush, gorgeous locations throughout the world are amazing. This one takes place in the jungle and in the hidden city of Paititi. And everything there in those locations just feels authentic. It feels real. That's how well realized and well developed these locations are in this game. And it's just so, in the graphics, there's no limitations with the graphics anymore. Lara Croft looks amazing in this game, and the facial animations continue to impress me. Not just with the Tomb Raider game, but every next generation console game with facial animations, facial expressions, continues to amaze me in all of these next-gen games. It's by far amazing. This is a very cinematic game. It feels like you're playing a Tomb Raider movie. Kind of like when you play Uncharted, especially Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 feels exactly like a movie. But with Tomb Raider, you really do get that feel, with Shadow of the Tomb Raider at least. You really do get that feel that this is a movie and somebody was like, alright, but it's an interactive movie. You just press a bunch of buttons and do the rest. That's what it feels like, and it's amazing. There are so many cinematic sequences in this game. For instance, there's a sequence where Lara Croft gets knocked into a pool of water and there's fire behind her. She's drowning and she's thinking about some previous things that she has said, her previous adventures, previous conversations she has had with people, and then all of a sudden she comes up from the water like she's reborn, like she's the fucking Terminator, and the music's very ambient. The music in that scene, picture something from Blade Runner 2049 or something, and all of a sudden you just see her, a silhouette of her, draw a knife, and she's going up to a Trinity soldier and she brutally murders him. There's cinematic elements like that really enrich this game. You also have the big action set pieces. There's a landslide in this game. There's a tsunami in this game. There's a bunch of things like that. And the combat in this game is really takes a step back for a series that is puzzle solving, exploration, and action adventure. There's not a lot of action set pieces in this game. When there are, they're really fun, but even when there's not a lot of action or combat, it's still really fun because the emphasis on this game was focused more on puzzles and exploration because that's what fans wanted. So they're like, alright, we'll focus more on that. Here's something really cool. Eidos Montreal developed different difficulties. I think I played on Rite of Passage, which is normal. So that's the overall difficulty of the game. But for combat, exploration, puzzles, you can set those individually. So if you want puzzles to be really hard, you can make them really hard. If you want puzzles to be really easy, you can make them really easy. If you want them to be normal, you can make them normal. Same with combat and exploration. Now, I think that was a really smart move on Eidos' part, especially for veterans of the series and newcomers of the series who really don't know what to expect with a game like this. But the combat sequences are few and far between, but they're still really fun. It focuses on stealth. You cover yourself in mud, hide on the mud walls, or you hide in a bush. Basically, that's how you really have to tackle the combat in this game. It's a very stealth-oriented combat game. You get into a firefight, you're pretty much gonna get screwed. You'll win, but you'll pretty much get screwed. You can hide back on those mud walls as long as they lose sight of you, and you can do stealth takedowns like that as well. You can do stealth takedowns from the mud walls, which is pretty cool. But basically, there's not a lot of combat in this game. It's more for puzzles and exploration because that's what fans wanted. A lot of fans complained that Rise of the Tomb Raider was too action-oriented, and they wanted more puzzles and exploration. I mean, that kind of took away from me because I loved Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's my favorite one of this trilogy, and I liked how it was more of an action game rather than like exploration puzzle game. And in the first game, Tomb Raider, was a survival game with elements of horror, surprisingly. So those two games, I really liked the combat in those games, and this one scales it back. But I feel like this game had to serve the purpose of the story. The boss battle at the end is pretty tough. I died a few times. Luckily it's not anything that's too difficult. It's just right. And it's not a bad boss battle either, I will say that. Where I think the game ends up faltering is its story and some of the decisions that Lara Croft makes. Like, early in the game, she's told not to take this knife. She takes it. She sets off the apocalypse. All these cataclysms start to happen. Good job, lady. There's another part in this game where she's blending in as part of this tribe. And the tribe's leader's son gets kidnapped by this cult. And she's hiding. When she sees him get kidnapped, she just yells out, "No!" And now the cult's coming for you. Why would you do that? Honestly, it's just decisions like that. And then going back to that scene that I described before where she's coming out of the water, that scene, I'm on the fence with that scene because it's really her she finds out that one of her friends has been killed, and now she's just going on a violent rampage, and then when she finds out that her friend is actually alive, she breaks down and cries and is like, oh my god, what have I done? I'm on the fence with that scene because it's like, I don't think Lara Croft would necessarily go on a violent rampage like that, but this is her becoming the Tomb Raider that we know her to be, and she just addressed it. She's like, I thought you were dead. It's like, look at what I've done. Like, I just blew up an oil refinery. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence with that scene. In the story, at times, it's unlike the first two, especially the first game, because the first game was just really straightforward with the Solari Brotherhood, Matthias, you know, unleashing the soul of Himiko because she controls the weather patterns. This game kind of gets a bit convoluted. At times I'm like, okay, what's the story now? We're doing Stations of the Cross now, you're in Paititi, you're following this cult becomes good. It's like, wait, what? Okay, the story is not the strong point for this game. Also, the villain Dominguez is the most bland villain I have ever met in a Tomb Raider game. This dude's just like, I just want to remake the world, and I killed your father, and it's like, alright, that's your motivation? Okay. The other two villains were way better! Ias and Constantine at least felt menacing. They had some presence. They felt like they could kill Lara Croft at any time. Dominguez is just like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna remake the world. Whatever. However, the finale for this game is very satisfying. I really like, there's a flashback sequence in this game. I really like playing that sequence, even though that puzzle was a bit hard. It's more just exploring Croft Manor and all that. But that was really fun, and Lara Croft finally gets some closure in this game. That's what this game does really well. I think the writing for this game, I think it's really good when it focuses on Lara Croft's past and her decisions that she's made in the past. It's just the decisions she's making in the present, the villain, and the story just aren't that strong. But mostly this game, people are going to say that this game is basically similar to Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that some of the gameplay elements are getting stale. But at the same time, why Why fix what isn't broken? I don't think they're getting stale at all. I mean, they found mechanics that work. I mean, do people say that the Batman Arkham games were getting stale? Because the gameplay was basically the same throughout 4 games, especially with Arkham Origins? I mean, that's an argument that I really don't get. Also, something I really like about this game, you get all your gear right from the get-go. You have your signature bow and arrow, you have your assault rifle, you have your pistol, you have your shotgun. You lose it at a certain point throughout the game, you have to get everything back. But right from the get-go, you have everything, whereas in the last 2 games, you had to go and find everything. It made sense in Tomb Raider 2013, but Rise of the Tomb Raider, I would have been like, I think you would have kept some of that from Yamatai Island, so why do I have to go find a bow and arrow again? But you have everything right from the get-go. So if you want to go in guns blazing in the combat instead of going stealthy, you can do that. It's up to you. I mean, it's the way you play. I mean, like I said, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is probably the weakest game in the franchise, and I think it's because of its story and some character decisions and its bland as hell villain. But it's by no means a bad game. I had a blast playing this game. Like I said, I played this game probably like 5 or 6 hours straight on Monday, and I beat it. And I was just so satisfied that they came up with a good conclusion to an already great trilogy. I'm going to give Shadow of the Tomb Raider a 9 out of 10. It says a lot that this is the weakest in the trilogy, yet it's still a 9 out of 10. Guys, that is my review for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I will have a review for the PS4 game, Spider-Man, coming your way soon. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.